Gargoyles. Now we cheated on this one because it is a movie. It's technically a movie for this bottle cap review, but it's the first 5 episodes of the.
This is our
season.
segment, so we get to decide what we get to bottle cap
And
review.
we decided that we're doing Gargoyles.
So you don't have to say that we cheated.
I'm trying to be honest here, okay?
We live again!
We live again!
So we're doing the first 5 episodes of Gargoyles.
What's it called? Do they call it The Awakening, or is it actually a movie?
It's Awakening Part 1, Awakening Part 2, Awakening Part
Shape
3,
Shape Part 5.
Awakening Part 4, and then I can't remember the 5th one.
Is it The Morning After? Is that? No?
Are you thinking of...
No, I'm trying to think. Is it Hungover? What's...
We Live Again!
Is it We Live Again?
Part 5.
Oh, just Awakening Part 5.
So, this is an amazing series that went from 1994 to 1996. Not nearly enough time to go through all the storylines and things that they were headed to.
Yeah, it's a shame that
it stopped
hasn't
when it
come
did.
back at all. Like, it would make an amazing live action now.
Yeah, it'd make another amazing rebooted cartoon, because Disney had this whole kind of launch of let's reboot DuckTales and more things.
To be fair, it did continue on once the show was all done. It did continue on as a comic book for a 3rd season. And whatnot, yeah. So I haven't read it. I have no idea, I haven't read any of it, so I don't know how good it is or not. But
the fanfare is there, and obviously there is crowd support for this property.
And so we're talking about the movie, the first 5 episodes that were culminized into a movie
called The Awakening.
Yeah, and it's fucking great.
Yeah, it's good.
It's great.
It's strong.
It's great.
Especially because they have to immerse you into this world. Obviously, there's a little backstory. It's not just kind of Gargoyles playing with today. They did start with this lore coming from Scotland, and I guess the 1600s. Or...
The 1600s, yeah.
And
superstition is stored, ruled.
Just gonna call it everything. And essentially, they were the gatekeepers or the allies of this one Scottish kingdom, and used as defense and offense to help protect those between the walls.
Bandit tribes and just anything. They were just defending.
They're a community. They're
protectors.
They're their own tribe that just happen to find these allies, and they're like, oh yeah, you guys can perch here, and we'll take care of you when it's daytime. Because obviously, as a gargoyle, you're only really come out. Your freak only comes out at night.
Yeah.
In the daytime, you're just stone.
But they protected this kingdom. The kingdom wasn't really all with them, right? They wouldn't let them into the.
So yeah, we're kind of jumping around. It's 5
5
episodes, but the first 2 episodes are really dealing with what's going on in Scotland
in 1600s. Yeah,
Goliath and his band of gargoyle friends, as well as who he believes are allies that he's working for on the kingdom side. So there's Goliath, there's Demona, who's his lady of the night, dark mistress of the. He has some.
The clan's 20, 30, 40 deep. It's a big clan of gargoyles.
Yeah. And
none of them have names except for Goliath and Demona.
Right.
The two, him and his right-hand man. She didn't even have a name back then, right?
Oh,
secretly had a name. It revealed. Remember, she's like, the humans gave me a name too.
Okay, right, yeah. They gave her a demon name, essentially.
Yeah,
just called
Demona.
Demon. Nah.
Demon A, yeah.
And then who eventually becomes Brooklyn later on in the series, has this nice little throwaway line when a kid asks them, what do you call yourselves if you guys don't have names? And it's just we just call each other friends.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a nice little sweet way of understanding their community. Names don't really matter. They know who the alpha dog is, but everyone else is just an ally and a friend. And you just talk to them the way that you would want to be talked to.
But so it sets the stage for the current day things that happen by who. It's a lot of betrayal because there's a tension between the gargoyles and the humans that they protect.
And then the ones that they're taking offense to.
Yeah,
right?
they eventually get backstabbed. I was trying to find a different way of saying that, but they eventually
they back broken too.
Yeah, they eventually get backstabbed in the sense that
they trusted an ally who turned out to make a better deal with who was supposed to be his adversary.
Yeah,
and ended up trying to usurp the throne and get the queen kidnapped and killed, and subsequently has Goliath and another gargoyle who eventually become Hudson run off and chasing
ghosts,
some warriors in the forest who were just a mislead for what was actually going on, which was during the day the troops that they were fighting, I guess the night before or a couple nights before, came back to
sack the castle.
Yeah, kidnap the queen and destroy all the gargoyle statues.
Which wasn't part of the original plan, but
things happen.
Things escalate.
That's the thing about this kind of property, Gargoyles. It never seemed to talk down to its audience. It was always elevating how many storylines can be included, and all the storylines were wrapped up in together. Like everything bleeds into the next thing. Like in this first 2 episodes, you get Magus, and Magus comes back later.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of first-hand appearances of people that seemingly you don't know that you're gonna meet again because it gets flashed into the future. But it's very complex in the fact that it knew that it was talking to kids, but it knew that kids are smart enough to kind of keep following with the narrative that they're playing on.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stories, and I was young when this came out. We were young when this came out, and we were able to follow along just fine. Like there's some beats that are more mature, that you like people's motivations and things like that. Right. But the story was pretty, even though it was complex.
Yeah.
Or layered, sorry. Even though it was layered,
there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different characters who have a little different motivations, and typically in a children's cartoon, you're not going to see that. It's typically good guy, bad guy, and them meeting at some point. This one had a lot of anti-heroes, anti-villains, people just like throwing wrenches and things. Like there are a lot of
backstabbing, right?
Characters that came up. Yeah, so we are learning a lot more kind of humanistic qualities through this show, in a fairy tale fantasy way. And then there's a lot of like mythos and lore about Scotland, and then Avalon, and like they took us to a lot of different mythical places.
It's very
I know
mystical.
We're going past the first 5 episodes, but
way past it.
The series is so fucking
it's dense.
Great. Yeah, that this bottle episode is really like a bottle review. It's like a six-pack.
Of the show. The show itself.
Because it's so good. But the first 2 episodes are establishing who Goliath and the Gargoyles are, where they come from, and why they are now fully rock. So after
due to a misunderstanding, they're
all, like I'm jumping around, so I don't want to do that. So Gargoyle and Hudson are frozen in stone. The villains come and destroy the remaining gargoyles that were on the perch. At some point in the first 2 seasons, gargoyles that will become Lexington, Broadway, and Brooklyn get sent down to the hatchery because they were
misbehaving. They were being bad boys.
I think they were just eating with the other prisoners.
They were being bad boys.
But they got sent enter, so they weren't around when the villains came and destroyed everything.
When they got sacked, yeah.
So they Goliath, Hudson come back. They see that everything's in ruins. Goliath wants answers. He looks to see who the betrayer is. He finds out that it's one of his allies that earlier in the episode has been kind of championing him to the kingdom and the royal kind of
the queen,
king and queen. Like he wants them to be as acclimated, but he obviously gave him the most ultimate betrayal by getting his friends and family bashed into rubble. Yeah.
And then so due to a misunderstanding, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Just we don't want to summarize everything, but due to misunderstanding, the gargoyles that were remaining from the sacking,
right?
That's such a funny word, eh? The sacking.
The great sacking.
The ones that remained, Magus, who's a magician or sorcerer, he puts a spell on them to be frozen in stone until the prophecies or the spell book says until the castle is lifted above the clouds.
Right.
Right. That's
which seemingly won't happen in 1600 Scotland. Right.
Ever.
He's not thinking about.
So they all get frozen except for Goliath.
Flash to
and Goliath wants
the same treatment. Yeah.
Guys, he's such a trooper, such a leader that he's like, put me with them.
Yeah.
So he gets frozen too.
He doesn't want to be alone again.
Yeah. Fast forward 1,000 years later,
where we meet Xanados.
Xanados was a rich, very rich, wealthy, businessman.
Kind of like think
entrepreneur, businessman,
Steve Jobs, but with like Bill Gates money
and and a very nefarious like
smooth voice.
Oh yeah,
great voice acting on this show as well. We'll get into that a little later. But jumping all around, flash to present day where he somehow finds out.
It's not the 90s. It's not the 90s.
Yeah, about the lore of these gargoyles and essentially transports the entire castle from Scotland to New York on his skyscraper above the clouds so he can have gargoyles be free again.
Yeah. We don't really know how. Oh, no, we do know how. So basically, I was going to say, we don't know how he got the motivation, but no, we do know. So he brings them back to life, basically, and kind of has them, he dupes them a bit to kind of have them do his bidding. Like he earns their trust by staging a robbery at his place. And,
yeah. If we haven't said, he's the villain of the show.
well, you kind of get the idea as soon as you see him because like he's too smooth for his own good.
I'm surprised we didn't list Lex Luthor, because that's probably the prototypical kind of relation to who
very
he's playing.
very Lex Luthor-y.
Very much his fingers in a lot of pots and about his business, but seemingly at surface level seems good, but always has an ulterior motive for everything that he's doing. In this case, it's to own gargoyles and have them do his bidding.
Yeah.
But he gets them free. So we're in the 3rd episode by now. Flash forward to present day. They break free. We get the ultimate line from Goliath.
We live again!
Which is the money shot. Like, every kid loves that line. You hear it in the opening credits. You hear it in this episode. You love it because Keith David is voicing
just
this.
his delivery is insane in this. But yeah, he gets them. They're kind of naive in the sense that they still trust humans and things like that, and they feel like they owe him for bringing them back. Right. So they do a couple errands for him. It turns out that they're basically robbing.
Yeah,
his own tech.
Xanatos has his troops pretend to be robbing something from himself.
Yeah.
In hopes of having the gargoyles see that, oh, I need your help, when seemingly he's been puppet mastering the whole thing from the start.
And secretly, you find out that he's been in cahoots with Demona,
who's still alive.
Who's still alive because she never got the spell cast on her, and she didn't trust humans in the first place back in the 600s. So she wasn't even there when when the castle got sacked.
Right.
She was out. So.
Again, this is a children's cartoon.
And
already there's these many gears in the first 5 episodes.
Yeah.
We're getting all of this and fucking loving it. The one ally that the gargoyles do get to meet is Detective
Elisa Maza,
who is amazing because she not only accepts them for these mythical beasts that they are, but really helps them to see that not all humans are bad, and that Xanatos is.
And a real badass female centric character. Like lead character in cartoons, like back in the 90s, it wasn't that prevalent.
I would argue same with the Demona. Even if
you're absolutely right. Absolutely
even if
right.
she had an alternative motive, she was definitely a lead and never wanted to play anyone's shadow.
No.
And definitely you noticed her.
And they carried their
name,
shows well. Like Elisa has a great scene in I think the 4th episode where she actually takes on a troop of Xanatos' soldiers herself in like a park trying to protect Goliath, who was turned to stone at that point.
So they're already establishing that every character in this universe can hold their own, and definitely they'll need to in this type of environment with these new surroundings that are now in front of them.
Yeah. And they eventually figure out, I guess they eventually figure out Xanatos' intentions.
Right.
Kind of with Elisa kind of giving Goliath some tips, like this guy's snaky, man. Like just watch out for this dude. Yeah, he brought you back, but I know him.
Right, and you don't.
He's sleazy. He's sleazy.
As well as also giving them names too. So
she helps name. Or no, they name themselves, don't they?
They do, but she's kind of the catalyst for them to be like, oh, you need names, and Hudson points to the river.
It's such a cool way to have their names. Yeah,
they're all either streets or boroughs of New York. So there's Bronx, Brooklyn, Broadway, Lexington, and Hudson, who's a river, which all fit for the narrative of being in New York.
Yeah, they really embrace the Steel City, right?
Yeah, if Papoose was here, he'd be writing raps about all 5 gargoyle names and have them all on his fingers, and then give another fist for Goliath. It's great.
So and the first 5 episodes are so strong in themselves that obviously they were able to put a coherent movie together. It's not perfect, but it's got a lot of. Yeah, it's very good.
They definitely
it's very good.
Lengthen out some things that you could probably get all this done in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But for a kid who's starting a new kind of show and television, like this series did a lot of 1-part, 2-parter, 3-parter episodes. But that made you want to watch even more because you wanted to see what was coming next.
Yeah.
And that was always enjoyable for
such
great writing.
At the end of every episode, it's to be continued. Yeah. To be continued. Because it's 5 parts
until it got continued.
So it's good to watch it.
By then you're already hooked, right?
Yeah.
You're ready for the series. How many bottle caps are you giving this bad boy?
This is gonna be a 3.5 capper for me. 4 cap.
3.5 or 4?
I'm gonna go 3.5. The one thing I didn't like was how he built the metal Goliath army. Xanatos did at the ending there. Like I get that they needed some sort of adversary to fight in the air, but
he gets a rocket launcher.
That's much better.
I get 3.5 bottle caps.
3.5. 3.5 for Gargoyles. Bottle cap. Baby.
You know, these are great. You should try one, Goliath. Jalapeno!
Hey there, kids. If you liked or hated this clip, please keep us on your radar for more bullshit just like this. We'll be doing a bunch of these, plus our flagship podcast, Comic Patrol, which drops every Thursday, give or take, where we cover any and everything we can that is heavily or lightly comic book related. So please subscribe, follow us on Twitter at @D_lethal weapons, or throw yourself off a bridge. Your choice.